Here we are on the last day of the trip, and I'm in Oklahoma City down in Bricktown section, and I'm going to take a little 35-minute tour of the area on the water taxi on the canal. So we'll take some pictures and see. It reminds me a lot of San Antonio if you've been there. I've never been here before, so we'll see how it looks. Well, it turns out the reason it reminds me so much of the Riverwalk in San Antonio is that Oklahoma City just blatantly copied that Riverwalk. Unfortunately, they were unable to recreate the ambiance of the San Antonio Riverwalk, and this one lacks the diversity and feel of the one in San Antonio. This is what used to be the historic district of Oklahoma City. I believe it was the warehouse district. And most of these buildings here do date back to the early 1900s. Local artisans were commissioned to provide artwork along the banks of the canal. However, they were limited in what they could do by the requirement that it involve Oklahoma history. As a result, most all of the artwork you'll see on this trip is involved in either the history of the local tribes or the 1889 land rush. While both are interesting, it's not what you'd call a real diverse history of a state. The first few blocks of this canal are by far the most developed and contain most of the restaurants, entertainment areas, and bars that you're going to see. After that, it kind of flattens out into a nice tour through an open prairie type area with very good sculptures, which we're going to see here shortly. The first thing you'll see on this part is an homage to the 5 largest tribes currently found in Oklahoma: the Chickasaw, Cherokee, Choctaw, Creek, and Seminole. They have 10 plaques which represent the history of each of these 5 tribes. Currently there are about 39 different tribes that reside in Oklahoma. By far the most impressive and probably the most famous artwork found in Oklahoma City is Paul Moore's bronze sculptures commemorating the 1889 land rush in Oklahoma. This display includes 45 unique individual sculptures done over a course of 19 years. They're all bronze. They're scaled 1.5 times normal, so that a 6-foot man would be 9 foot tall in these. And the level of detail is amazing, right down to the horse hooves and footprints of people coming out of the river up onto the prairie to continue their race to get new lands. It's absolutely impressive and an amazing work of art. Some of the interesting facts about the land rush is there wasn't just one land rush, there was actually 5 of them. The first one went into unassigned lands only, and that was land which did not belong to the tribes. The next 4, however, did involve tribal lands. There were 2 main groups involved in the land rush. The first were the boomers. These were people who advocated for the opening up of the land for farmers. Some of these boomers, however, snuck into the lands before the start of the rush and located the prime areas and hid out until the rush started. Then these boomers would jump out of their hiding spots, grab the best sections for themselves, and pretend as if they just arrived, basically cheating the honest boomers. This group of cheating boomers became known as the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, this fact goes a long ways to explaining the success of the University of Oklahoma Sooners football team. Well, maybe that last comment was not exactly true, but as a Missouri graduate from the 60s and 70s, it certainly explains why we constantly lost to Oklahoma every year in the Big 8 football conference. While you can walk the entire length of the Riverwalk in Bricktown, if you're not a fan of Oklahoma heat and humidity like I am, then it's probably not a good idea. The water taxi tour ends up right back where it started, so let's pop up on the street and take a look at the baseball stadium. This is the main entrance to Chickasaw Ballpark, home of the minor league team, the Oklahoma Dodgers, which, as you might guess, are a farm club of the LA Dodgers. Surrounding the ballpark, you'll find a number of very nice hotels, such as the Hilton Inn, where I happen to stay. There's also a Homewood Suites, a Hampton Inn, and a number of others, as well as numerous restaurants and bars. This area also has an assortment of plaques honoring famous Oklahomans from baseball, such as Mickey Mantle and Johnny Bench. In addition, it is the home to the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. In just the short time that I stayed here, I already found out how to tell if there's a home game planned. It's pretty easy. The cost of parking doubles overnight, and all the daily drink specials immediately disappear. It's just another example of good old American greed, just like being back at home at the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. You do anything to get as much money as you can out of as few people as possible. Overall, I would give Bricktown a grade of about C+. There's not a lot to see and do. Food was okay. The Hilton Inn, as is typical, it was overpriced and the Wi-Fi was incredibly crappy. Nothing new about that. So what is Random Destinations' #1 reason for staying and visiting Oklahoma City? It's pretty simple. You're too old to drive all the way from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Springfield, Missouri in one day. That's it. Next week, we will wrap up Season 4 of Random Destinations by a visit to the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, right here in Oklahoma City. Until then, this is Carter Cash saying so long. See you next week.